the psychological tension, discomfort, or pain that arises when one has conflicting beliefs, attitudes, or values, or to act out of one's character for one reason or another. Regardless of the scale and severity, it leaves you in a state of unease and worry, and if left unresolved, spirals into a life of exponential existential entropy. This pain is a tale as old as time, and we've all experienced it in one way or another, and we all deal with it differently. Some outright run and deny, some welcome and accept with arms open wide. Others stand in defiance and fight against the rising tide. Cognitive dissonance acts as a motivator to define ourselves, our character, our story, the journey to find one's humanity. Remember back then when we had the luxury of time to think, feel, and listen, resolve our hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Sad to say, those days are long gone. Shit's gone sideways and we've all gone astray. Now we have technology, a new age of innovation, refinement, and interconnectivity.
Welcome.
But with it comes the discord, deconstruction, and despair, the dawn of a modern-day catastrophe. Such is life in the 2020s. It's all coming at you in all directions, sometimes all at once. Often we find ourselves going nowhere fast. Before you even have the time to process anything, that moment is already lost to the past. The severe whiplash of all the things happening, inducing feelings of nausea, confusion, and delirium, leading to a path paved with ambivalence and apathy. So what can we do? Should we choose to continue to live in the age of
Watch everything.
It's quite a lot to take in when you take a step back and see how incomprehensible living is on Terra 2023 AD. Nothing makes sense, and that's how things should be.
Why?
For things to move so quickly in a short amount of time, the unrelenting torrent of events, data, and information really does make it feel like life is passing you by. Often I catch myself looking for the signs, in the hopes that all will be just fine. I sound like a lost sheep away from the herd, just a lamb to the slaughter, eventually seasoned and served. Fuck, man, let's be honest, it's all quite absurd. And there lies the solution to my dilemma. In the chaos of current life, enlightenment occurred. Absurdism by Albert Camus, a philosophical perspective, acknowledgement of the meaninglessness of existence, and finding purpose through the present experience. That the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your existence is an act of rebellion.
That they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
The first step to solving a problem is acknowledging you have one. If you couldn't already tell, I do, and I'm inclined to believe that you do too. If not, well then, all the best on the journey ahead, and I'll be seeing you. For the rest of us down bad about the current state of affairs and the hardship of the new dystopian reality, listen to this theory and change your mentality. Let's lay down all the cards of this twisted game for all to see. It's not the lack of meaning that brings us despair, but the desire for meaning and being unable to find it is what feels unfair. We will probably and most likely never find the true meaning of one's life, much less comprehend or accept an answer to the purpose of one's plight, fated to fall into delusions of grandeur, grief, and strife. So one must think about the journey and not the destination. While the destination is important for us to have an endpoint in mind, that shouldn't be the focus, as the journey makes up the majority of our time, in the hopes that we will eventually get our shit together, making some friends along the way, and hell, maybe even find serenity one day. Because every end is always a new beginning, even if that beginning is the beginning of the end, and therefore the journey never truly ends. Every experience adds to the story. Good or bad, that's really up to you. There's always something to take away, a silver lining, or so they say. I know it's starting to sound quite cliche, but let's not bastardize the idea, as it's one hell of a fun time. So let's set the plans in motion and draw the lines. Personally, I'd rather continue this wild ride, so this isn't an excuse to be a total piece of shit, to be remembered as a fool and living your days as a lifelong tool. The world's shit enough at the moment, so let's not add more to it. Wait, hold on, I hear you say. It's all well and good, but what exactly should I do? That's a good question, and I'm glad you asked. So I recommend that you use it as a foundation to add to your point of view. I believe that all have the potential, and so should you. So take my words like a grain of salt on your food. And much like any food, you don't just take a fistful of salt in the hopes that it'll all be good. A dash or a pinch, maybe even two, is surely enough for the flavor to come through. I'm running out of words to say. That much is true. Talk is cheap, and it's the actions that add value. The first step isn't too hard, but it's the will and resilience to keep on going is the most difficult in that regard. So go out there and continue to revolt against this absurd reality. That's what I find kind of funny. I know, it sounds like insanity.